Let me start off by saying that slow burn atmospheric horror is my jam. I love these kind of movies. All right, so The Cursed is a gothic horror film, werewolf movie. It's a 19th century French village. It's under a curse by a gypsy. And Boyd Holbrook plays a pathologist named John McBride, who has been trying to track this thing down, hunt this curse down, and kind of end it. So let me say first off the bat that if you run into a gypsy, just leave them alone. Don't mess with them. Why are we messing with gypsies? They always got a curse behind them, and that's what happens here. Thinner, what? Drag Me to Hell. It seemed like this one, it's always a gypsy. If you go the wrong direction with them, it lights out, and you got everything that you deserve, and that's exactly what happens here. Like, imagine this for a minute. It's like a guy owns a plot of land, and he notices some people camping out, and his little villagers kind of gather around and say, "Hey, man, we got these these gypsies living out on the land. What do you want to do about them?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's just go murder them and kill one of their own and string them up like a scarecrow and then bury another woman alive." Why? Just tell them to leave. Or, hey, you guys, maybe we could work out some kind of an arrangement where you guys can stay over here. And the crazy thing was, it's like this part of the land was like so far off and removed from everything that they were doing. They had to like travel through this long forest to get there. Anyway, beyond the point. This is a great usage of that 19th century aesthetic. You got tight hallways, tight cameras in the dark. Think Bly Manor, if you remember, if anybody saw The Haunting of Bly Manor. Think about that film. That's what this thing is. There's lots of gore, blood, brutality, and not all just about the werewolves. Some of it is with other parts of the film, which I actually was surprised by. I thought it was just going to be werewolves tearing people apart. No, it's actually, there's a lot of other ways that they use blood and gore to tell the story, and it's magnificent. There are some jump scares, so beware of that, but they keep them to a minimum, and they're mostly through like these dream sequences that they're using to kind of move the plot forward, which I don't really necessarily care for. And there's way too many of them. Like, they probably needed 2 or 3 dream sequences just to kind of get things going, and it's like it feels like 7 or 8 of them, and it's like, all right, we get it with the dream sequences, enough of that. But nevertheless, they do a really good job. The monster is shown kind of slightly. They don't really dive deep into that part of it, but they show enough of him, and he looked okay. There was some CGI issues, I'm not gonna lie. Some of the CGI didn't look the best, but it did the job. There's another part about this movie, character empathy. I don't really feel the way I should feel in a horror movie for some of the characters. Like, some of the characters, you're just like, hey man, you're a bad dude and you need to go. But then some of these other characters, it's like, I didn't feel the empathy that I probably should have felt. The mother was probably the only empathetic character, because she's looking for her son the entire film. So I think that the mother was done well, but I think there were other characters that just kind of were there on the screen. They're there to be served up to the werewolf, or they're there to look frightened when the camera pans to their face. That's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and look at the scores and see how I rated this. All right, numbers time. The Cursed. Let's go ahead and check it out and see what we got. All right, so first up is direction. Now, this was directed by a director I've never heard of before. He's a British filmmaker by the name of Sean Ellis, and I liked the movie. I really did, and I think I'll be watching for him in the future. Not a lot to complain about. Again, he was a one-man show. His use of camera, that's all on him. He was the cinematographer as well as the director. A lot of his shots are like, borderline genius, and then I really again like the way that the 19th century aesthetic came out. He made a lot of use of that, really played that up all the way from the candles and dark, to the way that the townspeople were dressed and the way they behaved. I'm gonna give the direction on this a solid 8.5. You won't see many films, in my opinion, directed better this year than this film, which I think is high praise. Next up is the script and the story. So if there was anything that was kind of shaky in the front, this is a great movie to look at. I mean, it looks great. It looks phenomenal. But in terms of the story, there's some things that they didn't do as well as I thought they should have. Like number one, again, I mentioned it before, but the dream sequences, there were just too many of them. I thought that he kind of made his point after the first two. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is how the story is going to move forward. Okay, we got it, and then let's go ahead and just move straight in. But he did a few more than he needed to, and it kind of bogs the story down because now you're dealing with that. Okay, is this really happening? Is this not really happening? What's going on? You're dealing with a lot of that. And not that it becomes confusing, but it just becomes kind of old. And it's like, all right, let's go. But nevertheless, and the ending, it was a little weak. And kind of like, what's happening here? Why is this happening? It's a little bit weak of an ending for such a great film. I wish it had a stronger ending, or if it ended maybe about 5 minutes sooner and just kind of left it ambiguous. I feel that would have even been better. But nevertheless, a solid script, a solid story. I'm going to go ahead and give that a 7. Next up is the acting. So this is, good acting. The lead character, Boyd Holbrook, does a great job. And he's kind of the one you watch throughout this entire film. There's other actresses and actors in here that do a competent job. This is a film that is reliant upon its visuals, so the acting just kind of needs to not get in the way of that, and they don't. And like I said, with Boyd Holbrook's, I don't remember the young actress's name that played the daughter, but I thought that she was pretty good as well. Both of those kind of carry the story. They're like the ones you're following through this, and again, both of them do a good job. Mostly everybody else is just there. Oh, camera pans, this person looks afraid. Camera pans, this person drops a line, and he shows a little bit of emotion, and then it's all fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but nothing that's going to be rising to an Oscar level or anything like that. So again, with the acting, I'm gonna give that a 7 as well. And then finally, the sights and the sounds. This would have been a much bigger score for me personally if the CGI in certain situations had held up. Might have been better just to use a practical monster. And they show the monster enough, but you kind of get the feeling that they said, yeah, let's not show it too much because we're going to try to hide some of this shaky CGI. But everything else is magnificent. I mean, you got these sprawling shots of this Victorian era, French village. You got the forest and how these characters moving through. There's lots of like moments where it's almost like kind of black and white, even though it's a color film. It's like, is this, did they shoot this in black and white? Because but the way that everything lays out is gorgeous. And then there's, and then once again, they're using the 19th century aesthetic to its full potential, with the tight hallways, the darkness. Like, think about it. You're in the 19th century. You can't just walk into a room and flick on a light switch and see what's going on. So everybody's carrying candles and they're kind of walking around, and and those shots are really well done. And like I said, it really ratchets up the tension during the film. So for me, the sights and the sounds were the best part about it, but the CGI kind of knocked it down a peg or two. Nevertheless, I'm still going to give it a really decent score of an 8.0. Okay, so that means that my final analysis, when you add it all up and bring it to the total score, this is going to be so far the highest rated movie, 7.5, but it's percentage points above Death on the Nile, which is good. So this is going to end up being the #1 film that I've reviewed so far. I highly recommend it. I know slow burn atmosphere horror is not for everybody, but I thought if you do like it, if you are a fan of those kind of films, you're going to absolutely love this one. All right, so that'll do it. I'm going to go ahead and put the scores up so we can see where everybody's at after the 7th review. All right. So there we go. Cursed sitting in the #1 spot, followed by Death on the Nile, Scream, Uncharted, Studio 666, which I just reviewed a little earlier this week, and also Jackass Forever, and then Moonfall. So that's my top 7 so far, only 7 that I've reviewed. So tell me what you think about those ratings. We're going to be gearing up for a lot more movies. I have a feeling that after next weekend, The Cursed is not going to be my #1 film.
There's a big movie that's dropping next weekend. I'm very much looking forward to that. I know a lot of you are too. So drop your comments. What do you think of these scores so far? You right in alignment with me? Have you seen these movies? If you have, tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.